Hello, and welcome to John 17:23 Impact. I'm Sandra West of Barnabas Ministries, john1723.net. We are passionate about seeing authentic spiritual and relational unity develop among pastoral leaders. So we help connect pastoral leaders in John 17:23 groups where they are encouraged, inspired, and enabled to pursue kingdom ministry together. In these John 17:23 impacts, we are on the topic of pastors doing kingdom ministry together. Now, usually when we talk about John 17:23 groups having pastors that are united, we refer to the fact that they are united in their love for God and each other and God's people, among other things. They usually minister to God's people, each in their own churches. A few months ago, we had a story of two pastors who used the same building for a time as a result of the relationships formed in their John 17:23 group. Check out August Impact, which is episode 5 if you missed it. Today's story tells of two pastors who went beyond that, and we have their group coach leading them and telling us their story. Now let's listen to that story.
Well, good afternoon. It's great to connect with you today via Barnabas Ministries. I'm Bill Fillmore. I'm privileged to serve as one of the USA team leaders in West Michigan. And I have two guys that I just love fiercely that I want to introduce you to and let them share their story. We'll kind of keep it relaxed and ask a couple of questions to get them going. But these two brothers were in the same John 17:23 group, and they actually ended up joining the ministries together into one church. So that's all I'm going to tell you and let them tell their story from that point. And so I'd like to introduce Doug and Melvin to you. So Melvin, tell us, why don't you start first? Give us your name, ministry that you were with, and so on. And then Doug, you do the same, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, my name is Melvin Burns II, and I'm again one of the co-pastors of City Heart Ministry here in Muskegon Heights, Michigan.
Great. Doug?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Doug Malier, and I also am a pastor at City Heart Ministries here in Muskegon Heights, Michigan.
Great. That's exciting stuff. So tell me, how long, do you recall, how long were you together in your previous John 17:23 group at that point? Maybe mention the name of the church that you were serving at that point, but do you recall how long you guys were together in the same group?
We were talking about that this morning. I think it was 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we met together. And of course, Melvin and I have known each other long before that even, and have been on a National Day of Prayer committee together for years. Melvin's church and our church, when we were separate, we did a lot of outreaches together. So our people knew each other. And Melvin and I knew each other for a long time, and I think that's part of what makes us work. Well,
Yeah. I pastored for 14 years before we merged the ministries together. And again, like Doug said, he knew me actually before I was even a pastor. We knew each other and sort of got close. In my previous job, I met a lot of pastors, and we just seemed to get along well, seemed to click. And I think in the John 17, we just got to know each other better, at a more intimate level. And I think we realized, we had a lot in common and shared a lot of similar views.
Outstanding. Would you say that participating in your John 17:23 group, in your previous group, that is, where you're both in the same one, did that help you at all, or maybe help lead you into doing what you're doing now in terms of kingdom ministry together?
I think so, because it got us more intimately acquainted to know what was going on in each other's neck of the woods, so to speak, and to be able to speak to each other about that, which helped us move to the point where we talked about merging. So yeah, it was very instrumental. Sure.
Yeah, I agree. You know people, you call them friends, but in the John 17 group, you kind of, again, that intimate level, some of the challenges they face and how they dealt with them. And so you get to know that person more. You go, so yeah, I kind of kind of like this guy. I kind of appreciate the way he thinks through things and sees things. And again, it's just builds a stronger bond in that relationship.
Great. So you were together, I think, would you say it was 9 years together in the previous group?
The previous.
Yes.
Great. And now you're each leading different independent groups. How long have you been doing that?
About 3 years.
Yeah, it'll be 3 years into this year.
Okay. Wow. Isn't that time flies by for
It
sure.
does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bill, you don't look a day over. Well, I won't say.
Well, you know, you're so kind. I often have people come up with this. You don't look that old.
You
Yeah,
don't
you
look that.
I'm trying to
Always
think.
give him a higher number.
Yeah,
Always
Right,
a higher
right.
number. Yeah.
Man, that old? Yeah, okay. I guess. Well, anyway, it is what it is. I'm grateful to be this side of the grass. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
yeah.
Bill, I have a bit of a testimony of what I think a lot of us go through with John 17. Melvin went through it. I went through it. A lot of other. When you approached us, each one individually over the years, pretty much most of us said, "I don't have time for that." Didn't you say? And but you kept knocking at the door, kind of like Jesus. And once we started, we thought, wow, why didn't I do this a long time ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's been really, really rich getting to meet different brothers and really counting on one another and loving on one another, praying.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. You are kind, dog. So that was a nice way of saying I was kind of like a dog in the bone for you guys, huh?
I think of Jesus knocking at the door of the church.
Yes.
Let me in.
Oh, that's great stuff. That is great stuff. Well, I have a hunch that coming together as two separate ministries, two very unique ministries, two very different ministries, what impact in doing that was there for you, for your respective leadership teams, and for your congregations when you did decide to collaborate together to do ministry in your community?
As far as the impact, and I think we shared, we spent a year praying and talking about this, and we sort of, over the last 6 months before we merged, presented to our leaders and our congregations, and pretty much unanimous when we agreed to merge the ministries. But we used a book, not to plug the book, called Better Together, and we kind of followed that guideline. And I think all the things that we wanted to do as a ministry, we just found, hey, if we merge this ministry, we're able to do them better. There's some things we were able to stop doing, but a lot of things that we believed as a ministry God was calling us to do, we found a companion ministry that had those similar ideas. And so those things, the outreaches, the Bible studies, the community events, and we found, hey, if we merge this ministry, we can do all those things even better.
Very good. Doug, how about you? Have anything to add to that one?
Yeah, same thing. We kind of merged our leadership teams. We didn't drop anybody or change
Right.
anybody. We just made it a little bigger so everybody would be included. And like Melvin said, we studied for a year, went to our leaders, my leaders, Melvin's leaders, in our fellowships, and studied this thing, and studied the ones that didn't work and the ones that did work, and all of that, and prayed, and then presented it to the church. And then after a certain time, we said, okay, everybody's going to vote at Melvin's church Sunday morning, and everybody's going to vote at our church. And it was unanimous.
What
And like I say, we had built rapport with each other through doing outreaches and stuff.
Yeah.
So the people knew us, we knew them. And of course, Melvin and I were the driving force because we've been friends for over 20 years. So that's a real big factor of taking time, looking at the doctrines, looking at the people, and your congregations have to know that you love one another.
Yes.
No one guy is out to be all that, and a bag of chips, so to speak.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, it's such a thrill to hear the story, and of course to have visited with you guys also, particularly when this early launch came into being. Have there been some surprises, some challenges that you faced, not only as two unique congregations, though you're in the same area, obviously, but you've got two, correct me if I'm wrong, a predominantly African-American congregation and a predominantly a Caucasian congregation, I think. How is that dynamic fared out for you guys?
You know, and I'm not overselling this. I think people will be surprised that that really hasn't been an issue. You know, we're all in the same community, and I think people appreciate we have people with different interests, different backgrounds, and I think more often than not, members in the church embrace that, whether it's different kind of music. I was just sharing with two members, two older white ladies in our church. My daughter lost her grandmother last year, and my daughter was telling me last week how much she appreciates them and how they take time to talk to them. These are two older white ladies in their 80s. But just you know, I always say when people want things to work, they work. And so you know, whether it's our political views, the music we like, and we talk about this all the time. Those are just our preferences, but it really is. We all want to love God and serve God together, and so we just. I don't think we make a big deal out of little things.
Right.
You
Yeah, because
know,
there's cultural differences
yeah,
that we all see.
yeah,
But we kind of even love those because we
yes,
learn from each
yeah,
other. And so, and like Mel said, they've really been small. It hasn't really turned anybody off or away or into arguments. So, and everybody's willing to
yeah,
do their part because everybody thinks this is the right thing to do for God. Melvin said it
yeah.
earlier. We felt we could do more for God and our community together than we could apart. So that's kind of this.
Outstanding. Boy, that's a thrill. So, what word of encouragement would you have to pastors in John 17:23 groups who are watching this, probably just fascinated, and they may be considering doing ministry together like you brothers did? What word of encouragement would you offer them?
Well, first I'd say make sure you pray and take your time. But you know, uh, I think the idea of not what you could get from somebody else, but what is it you have to offer? You know, I would say like a marriage is like, hey, if you think uh, the relationship you have with a brother, maybe we could do things, even if it's programs in ministry. Is you know, what are you presenting? Not what you know, what can they give you? It takes some selflessness.
Outstanding. Okay.
I would totally agree that you got to take your time. You can't do this overnight. Uh, you have to take your time. You have to be in sync with one another. Like Melvin said, you have to pray and maybe do little things together, outreach it together, and see how that fits and start to move toward it. And really, the book that Melvin mentioned, it's a good idea to study this thing and see how it's gone with other churches over the last 20 years that have tried this. Some have fallen flat on their face and some are flourishing. So,
Great. Very good. And what was the name of that book one more time?
well, better together.
Better together.
Better
I can't
Together.
remember the author, but it's an extremely good book.
Good. That's a good word.
I think it gives 7 models.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Pastors Doug and Melvin, thank you so much. You guys are champions. Keep swinging the bat, as we say. Well, not literally, but you know what I mean. Preaching the word and just sharing the love of Jesus in your community. And again, we give God the glory, but applaud you two brothers for taking Jesus' prayer seriously, that we would be one so that the world will know. So have a good one, and we will see you. And thank you, brothers and sisters, for listening to this interview.
I found it so encouraging to hear how they felt they would be better together. A true story of unity. We don't typically expect God to direct those in John 17:23 groups to be united in this way. But we love hearing stories of how God causes unity through groups and inspires pastors to do kingdom ministry together. So, pastors, if your group has a story to share, please reach out to me at sandra@john1723.net. We'd love to record your group story or receive a recording from you of how you are serving his kingdom together because of your John 17:23 group bringing you together. Let's close in prayer. Lord, I thank you for each of these pastors that are listening. I pray that you would help them to be encouraged and inspired and enabled to pursue ministry together for your kingdom. I thank you for these two pastors who chose to combine their churches and the unity that shows to both the members in that church and to their community. In your name, amen.